Blessed are the pure in heart. That's what Pastor Elijah Moore was preaching when it happened. Sunday morning, 10:43 a.m. New Hope Baptist Church, nestled in the small Georgia town of Fairridge, was packed. 100 souls in pressed suits and floral dresses, swaying to the choir's final hymn. Children squirmed in pews, grandmothers fanned themselves from the southern heat, and in the pulpit stood a man revered by nearly everyone who walked through the doors. Pastor Moore, eloquent, warm, father of two, husband of the ever-graceful First Lady Camille Moore. Then came the scream. Not from the congregation. From the choir loft. A soprano stopped singing. Her mouth opened in horror. A second later, chaos broke loose. There's blood on the altar. By the time the paramedics arrived, the sanctuary had emptied in a tidal wave of panic. On the altar steps, lying crumpled behind the floral arrangement, was a woman. Blood soaked the communion tablecloth beneath her. Throat slashed. Eyes wide open. It was Naomi Ellis, 28. Sunday school teacher. Church administrator. And, until that morning, the Moore's niece. To outsiders, the Moore family was royalty in Fairridge. Elijah Moore, 49, pastor for over 20 years. Known for his passionate sermons, community work, and booming laugh. Camille Moore, 47, poised, articulate, a former gospel singer turned first lady. She managed the church's women's ministry and ran an etiquette school for young girls. Isaiah Moore, 21, their oldest son. Back from Morehouse for the summer. Quiet. Focused. Practically a shadow. Jasmine Moore, 17, beautiful, rebellious, the star soloist in the church youth choir. And then there was Naomi, Camille's niece. Raised like a daughter since her parents died in a car crash when she was 12. She was the glue, the heart, the one everyone trusted. So when she ended up dead in the sanctuary, the Moore's world began to collapse. Detective Kenya Raye was assigned the case. And if anyone knew how to cut through Southern politeness, it was her. Within hours, she uncovered something most of the town didn't want to say aloud. Naomi had secrets. She wasn't just the pastor's niece. She was in love. With someone married. And that someone was allegedly in the church. While searching Naomi's apartment that evening, Detective Raye found a handwritten letter, stuffed in the back of her journal. I want to tell her. I have to tell her. I can't keep walking into that sanctuary pretending. It's been 14 months. I know what he promised. But I'm done being the dirty secret. I'm done lying to Camille. That name, Camille, was underlined. Detective Raye closed the book slowly. The first crack had formed. Naomi had been seeing someone. A married man. And she planned to tell Camille Moore the truth. So the question now was, who was the man? And who knew about the affair before she ended up dead? When the autopsy report came in, the coroner confirmed. Cause of death, exsanguination due to a sharp force injury. Time of death, approximately 10:31 a.m. during the church service. Meaning, Naomi was murdered while the congregation sat just yards away. And in a building that was supposed to be holy. There were too many suspects. Camille, the first lady, who claimed she was in the bathroom at the time. Isaiah, who had stepped out mid-sermon to make a call. Jasmine, who left the choir loft just 5 minutes before Naomi was found. And then there were the deacons. The choir director. The church organist, who'd once dated Naomi and still hadn't let go. Fairridge was no longer the peaceful southern town it pretended to be. A killer had been in the pews. And someone in that sanctuary had blood on their hands. Detective Kenya Raye knew one thing. Churches hold secrets better than confessionals. And Naomi Ellis? She had been sitting on one that could burn down half of Fairridge. But the trail was already growing cold. No weapon. No witnesses. And everyone close to the Moores had airtight alibis. At least, that's what they claimed. Isaiah Moore was the first to crack. Raye noticed it during the initial interview. His hands shook. He avoided eye contact. When asked where he was during the sermon, he mumbled, "Outside, needed air." Ray leaned in. "Did you see Naomi?" "No." "Did you know Naomi had a secret boyfriend?" Isaiah hesitated. "I don't know anything," he said, but his voice betrayed him. The First Lady of Fairridge didn't grieve in public. She wore grief like a designer coat, flawless, controlled. But behind closed doors? Naomi was slipping, Camille admitted. She'd been skipping meetings, keeping her phone locked. "I figured she had a man. I just didn't know who." Ray asked if she thought it was Elijah. Camille froze. Then smiled tightly. "I would have known." But there was a flicker of doubt in her eyes. It was Naomi's former roommate, Dree, who led Detective Raye to the breakthrough. "She had this loose floorboard," Dree said. "Used to hide her tips from the diner there. Might have been using it for more." Beneath the floorboard was a spiral-bound notebook. Pages upon pages of Naomi's handwriting. A diary. Ray opened it, and the first sentence stopped her breath. "The pastor says God will forgive our sins. But what about his?" The diary confirmed what Ray had feared. Naomi was having an affair with Pastor Elijah Moore. Not for weeks. Not for months. For over a year. She documented it all. Late-night visits to his office. Secret texts. A weekend trip to Savannah while Camille thought he was at a leadership retreat. And finally, Naomi's realization that she was pregnant, only for the test to come back negative. But the betrayal had already cemented. The final entries were frantic. "Camille suspects something. He says he'll fix it, but I don't think he means divorce. I'm scared. I think someone followed me home last night. If something happens to me, tell Camille everything. He lied to all of us." Ray returned to the church, this time with a search warrant. She wanted Elijah's office, his computer, his phone. But what she found in the choir loft closet changed everything. Buried beneath robes and dusty sheet music, a bloody towel, and a folding knife. The blade still had traces of Naomi's blood. And wrapped in the towel, a set of white gloves. Choir gloves. Which meant someone from the choir had done it. Ray found Jasmine Moore sitting alone behind the church after school. No makeup. No bravado. Just a trembling 17-year-old girl with her world falling apart. "Did you know about your father and Naomi?" Ray asked gently. Jasmine nodded. "I overheard them, 3 months ago. In his office." "Why didn't you say anything?" I thought if I told Mom, it would kill her." Ray took a breath. "Did you kill Naomi?" "No." Jasmine snapped. "I wanted to scream at her. I hated her. But I swear, I left before anything happened." She looked down. But Isaiah didn't. Detective Kenya Raye didn't sleep that night. Naomi's diary confirmed the affair. The knife and bloody towel confirmed a cover-up. Jasmine's admission pointed suspicion directly at her brother Isaiah. But nothing was sticking, yet. Until the DNA report came back. And then the ground split open beneath everything. The lab results from the blood-soaked towel found in the choir closet revealed 2 DNA profiles. One belonged to Naomi Ellis. The other? Isaiah Moore. The same Isaiah who claimed he never saw Naomi that day. The same Isaiah who'd gone completely silent once the police got close. It wasn't enough to arrest him, not yet. But it was enough to put him back in the interrogation seat. Detective Raye brought Isaiah into the station without warning. She placed a photo of the knife on the table. Then a screenshot of the DNA results. "You were there. The evidence says so." Isaiah kept his eyes on the table. "I didn't kill her," he said flatly. "But you were with her?" Raye pressed. A long pause. "I went up there to confront her. About what she was doing to our family. About my mom." "What happened?" She laughed. "Said I should talk to Dad. That I didn't know anything." His hands balled into fists. She had this way of making you feel small. Like your pain didn't matter. Like the whole world revolved around her. Did you hurt her, Isaiah? No, he said, eyes flashing. But I wish I had. Word of the affair, and now Isaiah's involvement, shook Camille Moore to the core. When Raye visited the Moore house later that night, Camille was no longer composed. She opened the door in a bathrobe, mascara smeared, wine in hand. You were right, she said before Raye could speak. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't want to believe it. Did you know about Naomi and Elijah? She gave a bitter laugh. I knew he was drifting. That he had secrets. But not with her. Never with her. Do you believe Isaiah could have hurt her? Camille stared into the distance. I believe this family is cursed. And then came the call that flipped the investigation on its head. Again. A retired member of the church reached out with something unexpected. He'd seen Naomi just a week before her murder, talking to a woman outside the church gates. They were arguing. The woman had wild curls, a face that looked eerily similar to Naomi's. I thought it was Camille at first, the man said. But this woman was younger. Angrier. She called Naomi a liar. Said she'd ruined everything. Raye pulled Naomi's birth records. Cross-referenced them with Camille's family. And there it was. A name no one had mentioned. Celeste Jordan. Age 31. Former foster child. Arrested twice for identity theft. Naomi's half-sister. Celeste and Naomi had the same father. A traveling preacher who'd left two families in two towns, and Naomi never knew until 6 months ago, when Celeste contacted her out of the blue. According to messages on Naomi's recovered tablet, the reunion had been rocky. Celeste wanted money. Naomi refused. And weeks before her death, Naomi wrote in her diary. Celeste showed up at the church again. I'm scared. I think she knows everything. Raye pulled surveillance footage from a local gas station, just 3 blocks from the church. Timestamp, 10:27 a.m. The morning of the murder. There was Naomi, getting out of her car, and following just behind her, Celeste Jordan. She wore a long black coat and gloves. Celeste Jordan. Until now, she had been nothing more than a shadow in Naomi's past. A sister Naomi never knew existed until it was too late. But now she was front and center, a potential killer with motive, history, and presence at the scene. Detective Kenya Raye didn't need a confession. She needed proof. Celeste had grown up in the system. 3 foster homes by the age of 10. A record of petty thefts, scams, and 1 near conviction for fraud. No stable job. No fixed address. But what caught Raye's attention most was a detail buried in her financial history. She'd attempted to open a joint account under Naomi's name 2 months before the murder. It had been flagged for fraud and denied. And it looked like she'd been trying again, this time with forged church documents claiming she was Naomi's beneficiary. Detective Raye returned to the church for a second sit-down with Pastor Elijah Moore. Only this time, she wasn't asking questions. She was delivering warnings. I've got your affair confirmed in writing, she said coldly. Your son lied about being there. Your daughter knew. And now we've got a second woman, your wife's cousin, seen arguing with the victim an hour before she was murdered. Elijah flinched. Half-sister, he muttered. Not cousin. So he knew. You failed to mention that, Pastor. He ran a hand over his beard. I thought she'd gone back to Atlanta. I didn't think she had anything to do with your mistress's death? Raye finished. He said nothing. Jasmine Moore came forward the next morning with something unexpected, a voice memo. Naomi had sent it to her a week before her death. A message Jasmine never opened, until now. Detective Raye pressed play. Hey Jazz. I don't know what to do. Celeste is back. She came to the house yesterday. Said if I don't help her, she'll tell everyone about your dad. About me. She said she has photos. I think she's serious. I'm scared. The tone was calm, but beneath it, dread. If anything happens to me, tell your mom the truth. I didn't want to hurt anyone. With the new evidence in hand, Detective Raye issued a statewide bolo, "Be on the lookout," for Celeste Jordan. But Celeste was already 3 steps ahead. A bus ticket to Memphis. A prepaid phone. Cash withdrawals in small amounts from scattered ATMs. She was moving like someone who'd done this before. And worse. Someone was helping her. Security footage from a bank ATM in Macon caught Celeste's reflection, but more importantly, it caught the license plate of the car she was driving. Registered to none other than Isaiah Moore, the same son who claimed to have had no contact with Naomi's mystery half-sister. The same one who had blood on his sweatshirt and refused to explain how it got there. Detective Raye got a warrant. And this time, she didn't knock. Isaiah was arrested just before midnight. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. Inside his apartment, police found a second phone, burner style, filled with texts between him and Celeste. Most of the messages were cryptic. But one stood out. "Celeste, it's done. You sure the cameras were off?" "Isaiah, they were off. And if not, we'll deal with it." But the cameras weren't off. And now Isaiah was facing accessory charges. The interrogation room was cold, silent, except for the soft hum of the overhead light. Isaiah Moore sat across from Detective Kenya Raye, hands clasped, jaw locked. Raye dropped a stack of printed messages between him and Celeste Jordan on the table. "We have the footage. We have the phone. We know she was at the church. What we don't have," she said calmly, "is your reason." Isaiah's eyes stayed low. "I didn't kill her. You helped someone who might have." He sighed. "I didn't know it would go that far." Isaiah claimed that Celeste reached out to him weeks before Naomi's death. She told him they were related, said Naomi had stolen something from her, a legacy she deserved. She said Naomi manipulated my dad, ruined her chances at a real life. She said she just wanted justice. A public confrontation, that's all. Raye didn't buy it. Then why go dark? Why drive the getaway car? She said Naomi came at her, he insisted. Said it was self-defense. She was panicking. And you believed her? He looked up, finally. She was my blood. When Camille Moore heard her son had been arrested, she fainted in the church hallway. The congregation had been preparing for Naomi's memorial service, now cancelled. Camille, already reeling from her husband's betrayal, was now mother to a murder suspect and ex-wife to a pastor suspended for moral failure. "I should have left years ago," she told Raye between sobs. "But I stayed. For appearances. For faith. And now it's all burning." Raye didn't have words of comfort. Only more questions. Thanks to Isaiah's phone, police traced Celeste Jordan's last ping to a bus depot outside of Birmingham, Alabama. Detectives moved fast. Surveillance showed her boarding a Greyhound under a fake name, Lena Harris. She'd paid in cash. But it was what she left behind that finally unraveled everything. In a trash can outside the terminal, torn, blood-stained, but still partially intact, was a page ripped from Naomi's diary. "Celeste came to the church again. I told her to leave or I'd go to the police. She laughed. Said it wouldn't matter. The Moore name is already poisoned. I don't know what she means by that, but I'm done being silent." 3 days later, hikers outside of Montgomery discovered a knife buried near a campsite, wrapped in a plastic bag, stained red. Forensics confirmed it. Naomi's blood. Celeste's fingerprints. Celeste Jordan was now wanted for first-degree murder. At 2:43 a.m., the tip line rang. The caller was anonymous. "Check the motel near Selma. Room 19. You'll find her." When the team arrived, the room was empty, but still warm. The bed unmade. The water running. And on the dresser, written in lipstick. "I told her she wasn't the only one who lost something." In a final twist, Raye learned the darkest part of Celeste's past. Celeste had grown up believing she was abandoned by her father. But according to sealed court documents uncovered by the DA, he had tried to claim her. It was Naomi's mother, a wealthy woman with influence, who filed for sole custody and paid Celeste's mother to stay quiet. Celeste never knew that truth until it was too late. To her, Naomi had always been the daughter who got everything. And she got nothing. The sun had just begun to rise over Selma when a clerk at a 24-hour diner recognized the woman on the morning news. "Isn't that the lady who asked for extra napkins last night?" she said, pointing at the screen showing Celeste Jordan's face beneath a red wanted banner. By the time police arrived, Celeste was gone again. But she'd made a mistake. She left behind a receipt. 2 eggs. Black coffee. 1 Greyhound ticket. Destination: New Orleans. Detective Kenya Raye boarded the 7:20 a.m. flight to Louisiana with a federal warrant and a burning need for closure. Celeste had eluded justice for weeks. The knife had sealed the case, but justice still required a face-to-face reckoning. With U.S. Marshals and NOPD officers in tow, they tracked her to a rundown hostel near the French Quarter. Room 8. The knock was soft, then loud. Then came the voice. "Come in." Inside, Celeste sat cross-legged on the floor, suitcase open, half-packed. No sign of fear. Just fatigue. Back in custody, Celeste finally spoke. "She deserved it," she whispered. She stood there with her Bible and her pearls, pretending like she didn't know who I was. Like she hadn't spent her whole life living the one I should have had. Detective Raye didn't interrupt. She didn't even say sorry. Not once. She told me to get out like I was trash. Her eyes filled, but the tears never fell. I didn't mean to kill her. I just wanted her to look me in the eye. But when she grabbed my wrist, I saw my whole life flash through hers. And I snapped. The trial of Celeste Jordan began 6 months later, under national attention. Every pew in the church courtroom was filled with press, protesters, and parishioners. Camille Moore testified in trembling tones. Pastor Elijah invoked God's mercy, while apologizing for his own sins. Isaiah, in a plea deal, testified with shaking hands and visible guilt. But the most powerful moment came when Jasmine Moore took the stand. She didn't cry. She didn't stutter. She looked Celeste dead in the eye and said, "You killed a woman who spent her life forgiving people. And I hope, for your sake, she's willing to forgive you too." Celeste didn't blink. The verdict: guilty. First-degree murder. 25 years to life. Celeste Jordan was led away in silence. Pastor Elijah Moore stepped down from leadership and left the state. Rumors placed him in Colorado, working in a small outreach center. Camille Moore divorced Elijah 6 weeks after the trial ended. She kept the house but sold the church building. A new pastor started from scratch in a rented storefront, miles away. Isaiah Moore served a 1-year sentence for accessory and was released under supervision. He hasn't spoken publicly since. And Jasmine Moore? She founded a community organization for women impacted by family violence and betrayal. Its name? Naomi's Voice. In the end, murder in the church wasn't just about a killing. It was about identity. About what we inherit. What we suppress. And how secrets, no matter how buried, can bloom into tragedies. Naomi Moore had lived with grace. She had built a life from ashes she didn't know were burning. And in her death, she left behind a truth too heavy for some to carry. The church still stands. The pulpit is silent. And the stained glass no longer shines the same.